Do you remember your childhood accurately? Does someone else possibly have some insight that you can make your personal history more interesting? The truism that there are two sides to every story plays out perfectly in an interview Kevin Jonas Sr. did with his son Nick Jonas on the Legends YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description box so you can watch the full interview. Nick's fathers interviewed him and asked questions that a traditional podcaster or show host wouldn't consider. At one point, Kevin said something so profound related to the topic of this video. He said,
and of course, I know you very well, but your perception on things, as I've been preparing for us to sit down, I can't wait to ask you about your perception because I know my side of it. And we've talked often about there are all these sides and recollections to all of our stories. So excited to talk to you about it.
I especially love the statement, all these sides and recollections to our stories. In other words, Kevin seems to feel that there are many sides to the recollections of our stories. Nick, his son, will have one view, and he, the father, will have another. The interview is a discussion of those various recollections, and I highly recommend you watch it from an eye toward what, as family historians, we can learn from this conversation. Thanks to this interview, I have considered the question, should personal histories include more stories from our loved ones reflecting on our lives? Howdy, I'm Devon Noel Lee, a published family historian who wants you to learn how to quickly write non-boring family history to share your legacy with your loved ones. And believe me, your story is just as important as this multi-platinum selling pop star stories. But celebrities aren't the only stories that need to be documented. Document your story. However, thanks to this interview, we can see something pretty interesting. Kevin Sr. asked Nick about his earliest musical memory.
I don't remember the moment I first sang or, heard music or fell in love with music. But my memory is about a bit of a rebellious streak as it relates to music. And that was like jumping into the pit that the drum kit was in at CFNI, which is the Bible college that you taught at and went to and met mom and all that.
I have to pause. Isn't it interesting that Nick is inserting a little bit of context in his setting? He told us the college in which his father taught at. Really great job, Nick. Thanks so much. I wish all of our relatives would do that.
But I went down there and I was banging on the drums, and I think I was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that's my first music memory, is not like, doing it the right way, but just playing and having fun, enjoying it. And
being somewhere you were not supposed to be.
Isn't it funny? Here's Nick talking about, I was playing music in a place I wasn't supposed to be. So that's Nick's perspective. And I want you to compare the music memories to his father's idea of when Nick first began being involved in music.
Our memory is so emotional for us. We would wake up, and when you would wake up, we would hear this angelic, high voice travel through the house.
It was so emotional because I was waking up every day, far before you wanted to wake up, I'm sure. But
exactly.
I like that. Isn't that sweet? So Nick remembers banging on drums, and his father remembers him just waking up and singing sweetly. As family historians, what are your takeaways? For me, you're getting both perspectives of a person. Nick likely doesn't really remember what his father remembers, yet that's how Kevin Sr. remembers his son. Both stories tell you about Nick's early involvement in music, both the sweet and the rebellious aspects of his character. Then we can consider Nick as a young adult and speculate, since many of us aren't really close to him as relatives, how much of that sweet or rebellious streak's a part of his story today. In fact, one would wish you could see pictures of young Nick beating on the drum set and compare it to him banging the drums in Camp Rock 2. Are there any similarities? Since this is a family history writing channel, what tips do I have for you? First, write your stories with your memories. Then begin asking relatives to contribute their memories. If you're writing a personal history, you'll ask for memories about yourself, obviously. When writing a family history, you'll ask for memories about a shared ancestor. For instance, I grew up far away from my grandma. The memories I have are of a visiting relative who tagged along to several events that I participated in. She's a great cheerleader. By contrast, my cousin has one of my favorite stories about my granny. When Boomer graduated from Annapolis and was preparing for his Navy's assignments, Granny gave him an odd present. Boomer tells of how Granny promised him that this gift would benefit his tenure aboard the ship. And to his surprise, she was right. Before we continue, if you appreciate the Jonas family or like my granny's advice, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. Then leave a comment or a question about your struggles or successes with writing a family history. My grandmother has a lot of humor and knowledge thanks to my cousin's memory. The story about her life would be hollow if I only wrote about Grandma from my perspective. If I include memories of my youngest cousin who lived with my granny in her home during her childhood, that story will differ even further. She'll know the day-to-day Grandma, especially at Gran's end of life. To sum up, learn from Frank and Nick Jonas's interview. Notice how they share other stories and you gain insight into both men from the perspective of themselves and the other person. Apply those lessons to your family histories and see how transformative these tips become. Off you go. Are you still here? Awesome. Remember to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Then watch this video that will help motivate you to write your family history.